Hey everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Liz Loves Books. Today I'm going to be bringing you the January book tag. Big thanks to Jan from Jan for creating the January book tag. I'm really excited. Let's get into the questions. So the first question is, what was the first and last book that you read in 2025? And the first book that I read in 2025 was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, book 1 in the Infernal Devices series. I really enjoyed this one, and I can't wait to continue on in my Cassandra Clare journey this year. This was the only one that I read in 2025, so I'm hoping to continue in 2026. And then the last book that I read in 2025, I borrowed it from my sister-in-law, and that is Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. It is a mystery thriller. I read it when I was over in Iowa visiting my family for Christmas, and I read it in like 2.5 days. It was such an amazing thriller, 4.5 stars, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of Steve Kavanaugh's books in the future. Then question number 2 is, what is your first read of this year? Now, I'm filming this a little bit later, but my first read was Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez. I had an e-arc from NetGalley for it, and I sadly DNF'd it at 50%. So my first book of the year was a DNF, and we're not going to talk about it anymore. I'm very upset about it, but, you know, it is what it is. Question number 3 is, share 3 of your reading goals this year. So one of my reading goals is to read less books this year. I dropped my reading goal from 150 to 100. I made it to about 139 this year, and those like last 10 were really just like reading just to get to the goal, and I don't want to do that this year. So I dropped it down to 100. And I mean, so far it's the 12th of January and I haven't finished one book yet. I DNF'd one and I'm almost done with a few. So that goal is kind of working, I guess. And then the next one is write reviews for every book I read. I was pretty consistent with this about halfway through the year last year. And I just want to be more consistent with that. And then the last goal is read more broadly from genres and authors, and I am able to do that this year because I am just being more cognizant of who and what I'm reading, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. Then question number 4 is, share 3 of your most anticipated titles. Now, I've talked about these in other videos, my anticipated releases video that I made back in December, so I'll link that up here. And those 3 are Through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Shauna Maguire. And then the next one is You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews. I do have an e-arc of this book, as I've had for their past 2 other releases, so I'm excited to read their adult horror debut. And then finally, it is Heartstopper Volume 6 by Alice Oseman. This is the final book in the Heartstopper series, and I am so excited to finish Nick and Charlie's story and then reread the rest of the series in June like I do every year. So, question number 5, which goals did you not reach last year? I didn't reach my reading goal of 150, as I said before, and I was a little upset at the end of the year, but now I'm just like, you know, whatever. I still read a ton of books, and that's all that matters. And then question number 6, are there 2026 releases you've heard of that you have no desire to read? And I would say never for any kind of new releases from authors, unless I've read them a few times and I really don't vibe with them. But one that I won't ever be reading from again probably is Melissa Landers. That was a book that I read in the beginning of last year. It would be the sequel to The Half King. I gave that book 2 stars. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. And then also probably Rachel Hawkins. I also read Reckless Girls, and I gave that 2 stars. I was so bored. The characters really annoyed me, and I just don't think I'd want to read any more by her. And then question number 7, what are some reading habits you want to change this year, if any? I'm participating in the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge, which is hosted by The Story Ain't Over on YouTube. Her name is JAN-uary. The whole purpose of that challenge is to not have brain rot and read more intentionally and read more diversely. And she also has a book club called the Boundless Book Club that I'm a part of, that I'm going to be reading 2 books from, and they're centered around a specific theme each month, and January is capitalism. So I have 2 books, one that's a fiction book and one that's a nonfiction about capitalism. So we will see how that goes when I read them. I have not gotten to them yet. And question number 8, are there any adaptations that you're excited about? I really want to still watch The Housemaid. I loved that series, especially books 1 and 2, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing Amanda Seyfried in that role, as well as the movie adaptation of Sunrise on the Reaping. And then question number 9, favorite bookish memory of last year. That had to have been the book events that I went to with my friend Case. We went to a Light of the Sage signing down in Illinois, and just like book shopping days where I just spent an afternoon with myself book shopping, which I did do yesterday, which was really, really fun. And then question number 10, carryovers from last year that you still plan on finishing. I've got 3 that were soft DNFs last year. The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wang. I got about this far. I just wasn't in the mood to read it at that time. This one's a lot more dense than Blood Over Bright Haven, which I read, and it's my number 2 book of 2025. So I'm hoping to, with the goal of reading more intentionally and annotating and this anti-brain rot challenge, that this book will really thrive this year. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I actually got quite a bit of ways into this, but I was reading it when I was on like my hour-long lunch breaks when I worked at Half Price Books, and I did start highlighting and annotating a bit in this, but I need to be in a silent area when I'm reading this with like ambiance music and annotate and focus on it. And in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. I have stopped and started this twice, and it's not because I didn't enjoy it. I just, every time I pick it up, it's like the timing doesn't work. And I have the second book, and I know there's the 3rd book that's coming out soon or just came out, and I have the sprayed edge edition of this one and the second one. So if I need to read this to determine if I want to continue and then be able to get the 3rd book. Hey guys, those are all the questions. Thanks to Jan for creating the January book tag, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you guys in another video soon. Bye guys.